Are you ready to plan your entire year 2024 in just 1 hour? Today, I am with none other than my hubby for the very first episode of 2024 Slay Your Day podcast, my husband, Jarrod Gland. Welcome to the show.
It's great to be here, wife.
Happy New
Thank
Year.
you so much for your, we kind of do this like this
Fake
this
half
fake
kiss.
half kiss because she always puts this stuff on and it tingles. I don't know, guys, if you ever have an issue with that, but it's like I immediately kiss and I'm always wiping it off.
So happy New Year, you guys. For the past 2 years, Jarrod and I have been doing an exercise together, a calendar exercise that has completely transformed our marriage, our family, our businesses. And we wanted to share this with you today.
Yeah. So, I think with anything in life, like you have to figure out an outcome that you're looking for. And at the beginning of the year, everybody does a great job of trying to set goals, like they've figured out this outcome that they want. But then what happens between where they're at today and getting to where they want to go? Life happens. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a roadmap you're following, then the things that you're doing every day ultimately won't lead you to get to the thing that you want. And so whether it's in business or a relationship or the way we live together, live this life together, we're always constantly talking about outcomes and the thing that we're looking for. And then immediately you move into, okay, well, what's the plan to get there? So in your business, if you want to double the size of your business, then you got to do the math. You got to do the math for how many customers that means for the year. You got to do how many calls that means for the month, how many calls for the day, how many emails for the day, how many contacts, how many leads do you need in order to get those outcomes? And so everything becomes really something that ultimately, when you do this the right way, at the end of every day, did I get closer to my outcome or not? And so breaking these big targets down into manageable things that you can look at every day rather than something that's so far in the future, you're not really thinking with it. And then you don't
lose
have
track of what's important.
Exactly.
And then you lose track of your goals. And this has been a 2-step process for us. So the first step, and by the way, this is all done in 1 hour. So in 60 minutes, we cover everything. So the first part is our calendar. And in our world, what we do is we color coordinate our calendar. So we break it down into Jarrod's work. We break it down into family. We break it down into Sandy. So I have my own color. And then Jake, because of school, he has his own school calendar, when he's off, when he has break, just dates, important dates that we need to know for scheduling internally within the family. So the first part and the way that I wanted to kind of structure this call was explain to you how it worked, how the calendar planning all worked, and then get Jarrod's perspective to share with some of the guys that are on here or some of the girls to share with their guys because it is so powerful. And when you do this, everything changes. The home changes. You're more consistent with date nights. You're more consistent with intentional time together. So everything just works more smoothly. So what I'll do is I'll just briefly explain how this calendar planning works, the second part of the calendar planning. And then I just want you to talk a little bit about what this looked like before we did it and then what it did for us after. So very simply, how this calendar planning works is we got one of those, and I'll link this below. I'll link this down in the description and in the show notes, a big desk calendar. It can be one from Office Max. I'll link one below, but just any large calendar and the key is you want to put this in a main centralized area. Ours is in our laundry room. So that's where the mail goes. That's where this calendar is hung, but it's there for both of us to see, but also anyone in our home, whether it's our nanny who helps in our house, the parents, the in-laws, everybody has access to it that is in our world that's helping, that's supporting us. So that's really important to note as well. It's not just for you and your spouse, like anyone that is in your world helping and supporting should have access to this calendar.
Yeah. And additionally, I'll say that my calendar is pretty wild for the year. We do hundreds of events throughout the year and online things and live things. And so there's travel and there's just a lot. So I'm typically spending 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks planning out my work year. And so when I come to this meeting, that's already done. If you're trying to create your entire calendar in this meeting, go do that on your own. Yeah. Like get your own calendar in order, figure out all the things that you need to do for your business, and then bring that so that, she owns her business calendar. I own my business calendar. And so when we bring those together, then it's just a matter of getting everything aligned so that we know who's traveling what and where and what events and weekends I'll be gone. And she'll need to have plans for extra help for the kids if we need it. And then based on that, then what we look at is we look at where are opportunities for vacations with kids. We committed to doing a vacation every quarter with the kids.
And we did, I just want to mention and talk on that for a second, because last year, our goal together was that we were going to prioritize one big family trip a quarter. And this year we're going to kind of use that same structure, but we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do like this. Well, last year we did Bahamas, Alaska, Europe, and California. And, these pockets of time when Jake's off of school or he's, on summer vacation, we're looking at that. We're pulling up the school calendar, the work calendars, so we can see where the opportunities of time are on the big picture.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the idea behind this is if you're a professional, you operate at work off of a calendar, and when things are on your calendar, they get done at work. And so it was always like this thing. I think even early on in our relationship, when I was like, hey, let's get date nights on the calendar. And then it was almost like she was a little bit offended by that. Like, why do we have to be like that? Can't we be spontaneous? And can't you just do stuff? And I'm like, yeah, but if
in the beginning, that's in the very beginning. You think.
Yeah.
But then life happens.
Yeah.
And the only way it's going to happen is when you schedule it. And then maybe you talk about for a minute the difference between our date nights and our relationship days.
So what we do is we do this big planning event at the beginning of the year. We make a nice thing of it. We do a couples massage.
Oh yeah, that's important to mention too.
It's a nice fun thing so that we get to relax first and, have a champagne or whatever. And then we'll go down and we'll just knock this out. It takes about an hour. But through there, what we do is we basically just lay all this out so that we're all on the same page with what's happening. We know when we look at the calendar when I'm going to be gone and traveling. And if there's anything else going on, it's on the calendar. Our weekly date nights go on this calendar, which is Thursday night for us. I'm trying to convince her to go to Wednesday nights because I think it would break the week up better. But I'm still working on that.
So weekly date nights.
Yep. And then once a month, we do like a relationship day, which is like where we'll go out and it doesn't have to be extravagant. Like it could just be like
a walk on
coffee
the beach.
or something, something like that. But, or we'll do a massage, a couples massage or something like that. But the purpose of that is to look at where we're at and like what happened over this month and what is going to happen in the next month. Has anything changed?
That's a big point to mention is that although we're doing this calendar and most people, this is a big question that I get. So this is why I want to point this out is that although we're doing this calendar for the entire year on January 1st, the purpose of meeting monthly is because things change. Yeah. A date on the calendar for travel might change for him. Something on Jake's school schedule or my schedule might change. But the purpose of sitting down January 1 is you map it all out. But then monthly, you're doing that check-in again to say, okay, let's open that back up, take a look at it and see what needs to be adjusted or changed.
Because life happens and life changes. And the thing that the real benefit of this is, whenever we have problems in our relationship, we're bickering at each other or things are getting just tough, which is the small minority of the time, fortunately. It always comes down to communication. And before we were doing this, we were always I have my calendar. It's wild. I share it with her. She's not looking at it. I'm not knowing what she has going on. So it's like, I'll show up and she's like, oh, I've got to go to this event or I'm getting ready to leave for a trip for 4 days the next day and she doesn't know about it. And so we've gone through a lot of iterations that really just haven't worked when it comes to getting everything planned out. And I would just tell you that last year was the first year that we calendarized everything and went to the degree that we do so now, but it will never go back at all. And still, even it's like she's on my calendar, I'm on her calendar because there's still things that pop up and
you
change.
Still have the digital calendar, but the purpose of it being written out is that you can kind of check and balance each other and then you go over it together, right? Like I know I need additional help around the house or with the kids from my in-laws or the nanny when you're out of town, pickups, drop-offs, school schedules, work schedules. So again, it just gets everybody on the same page so your support system can be there. And then when my schedule, when I have to travel or go out or there's an event that I'm going to, we can make sure that we're backing each other up and supporting each other with that. So,
and it will alleviate a good amount of we need better communication conversations.
Yeah.
So it's just like having all of these things out in this way, it helps to facilitate the conversation about what's going on.
Yeah.
And then making sure that you're coming back to this and you're revisiting it and you're talking about it. And then in those check-in relationship days, it's like, hey, what have I done anything that's upset you or offended you?
You probably remember this. We used to, when we would have these relationship days, we would score each other. Remember that? I remember we would go out and you'd say, okay, this month, what was my score? What would you rate me?
Oh, I don't remember. You
don't remember?
No.
We would score each other.
Score well.
And it would be like, you were a 6 this month, so this is how we make it a 10.
Yeah, but I think your scale was way off because I felt like I always got low scores, and I'm like, what the hell? Like,
because we didn't do our planning.
Well, no, but I didn't feel like you're giving me like a 4. I'm like a 4. How is this even a 4? Like, you've got a roof over your head right now. Like, if you were a 4, we'd be out on the street.
I'm a hard scorer. Okay. Anyway, so that's the first part of the planning. The second part, which we added in this year, is separately, we went and identified each of our goals. So we did this financially, we did this personally, professionally, and so I came to the table with 3 pages of notes of all the different areas, the targets that I want to hit as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner, with my own self-care. Like I said, I want to drink, I think I said 65 ounces of water every single day because I'm so bad at drinking water. The only time I was ever good with drinking water was when I was pregnant, both of my pregnancies. But other than that, I'm horrible at it. So I said,
why? Because she doesn't like to feel like she has to go pee all the time.
That's true.
So stupid.
I'm so busy. I don't got time to use the bathroom.
Okay. What does Gary Brecka say about hydration?
Yes, you're right. So even down to the most the smallest things that you want to focus on. So I came to the table with my list, and then Jarrod, we wrote down what he wanted to focus on.
I didn't come with my list.
Well, we wrote it down together. I came prepared with all of mine.
We're being real. She's like, we're driving over. She's like, yeah, you
got your list, right?
She's like, I got my list all drawn out. And I was like, and she looks at me, she goes, you got your list, right? And I said,
in my head.
Yeah. I mean, I got it in my head.
So he wrote all of his out.
I mean, but and just to my defense, I think about the goals that I have all the time.
Yeah. And we're doing them every day, multiple times a day.
So per people. So I write my goals down in the office every day. I'm actively focused on that. And because I think it's the best source of motivation you can have to do something bigger is get focused on the things. And this is one of the things that I shared with Sandy when we were on a walk the other night. Is I was like, the thing is that if we are aligned and we're together and we share the common goal that we're working towards, and it's big and exciting, and for us, it represents time freedom, travel, time with kids, experiences, and what our life will look like in an ideal scenario. And for us, for both of us, that's very exciting for us. And the purpose of reminding yourself about these things and having these things be something you talk about with your partner is that if the goal's big enough, a lot of the things that happen through, on a day-to-day basis that can be sources of frustration or create conflict or tension. And if the goal's big enough, then they seem real insignificant. And so one of the conversations of the things that I wanted to focus on with her this year was I just want to keep the big picture in mind and the little things, the slip ups here and there. We're not perfect. And, I'm in my world at work, and then I come home, and then I'm trying to transition from work mode into dad and husband mode. And she's been home all day, and she's been with the kids, and she's got her thing going on. And then I come home, and I've got 9 conversations that I'm still having in my head. And so I need to check at it. Look, that's the reality. It's not always perfect. But I think that for us, I know that if we can remind ourselves in the moment how insignificant some little gripe or argument could be in the grand scheme of things. I said, number one, we're both going to be way happier. And then I also said, whenever we have these things where I'm feeling animosity towards her, or I'm upset with her about something, one of the things that I told her that I started doing because it killed me is an instant a problem solver, is I just say, is your problem ego right now? And I'll ask myself that question. And who wants to answer yes to that question, right? I'll just be like, hey, is your ego your problem right now? And I know that the harder that question is to answer, the more it's probably true. And then if you can pivot from there right into, look, this is insignificant in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
I'm sorry, didn't communicate it the right way. And then women, you have to do your job of getting over it, because sometimes you guys like to hold on to things, and those types of things. That we had our 10-year date anniversary.
Yeah.
We've been together date wise for 10 years.
Our 8-year anniversary is this month.
Yep. And ding.
Calendar.
So she's like, she's over the time we've been together, like she's changed the way she thinks and operates and responds. So have I. I think we're more aligned in this area now than we've been. And, sometimes I'll just tell her for perspective. I'm like, hey, look, I could die tomorrow. And then you're going to look back at this stupid, insignificant thing right now. And in the grand scheme of things, 90% of the time, 95, it's insignificant. And it's not discounting her emotions or any of that blah, blah, blah. It's literally something that's insignificant.
And women,
typically
we're emotional.
the result of something else that was not fixed. There was some other thing that's not fixed. Yeah. And it's just like manifesting itself into this other thing.
Yes.
But it's just like, guys aren't great at communication. We're not great at connecting with that side.
Well,
women love to do that.
To your point of that, one of my goals on my list was for date night, bringing more quality conversations to the table. So for the women out there, if you're doing this exercise and you're doing this with your husband or your spouse, whoever, you're in a relationship with, you don't have to be married to do this, by the way. One of my goals was to bring better quality conversations to the table. So when we are out on date night, it's not just like, hey, how was your day? Like, there's a better quality conversation going on that gets us more connected. Because when we're
we
connected,
use these little cards all the time, these little like idea starter cards, or like relationship
we do it with the kids
cards,
also.
Or like they make a bunch of different
versions,
just conversation cards or something like that. And they're always it always creates a little bit more ease with how you talk about things. And usually you get through, when it's just us, at least we'll get through 3 or 4 or 5 cards, and then we'll
and it sparks other conversations.
Yeah. So
which is the point. Of them. Because you start with one card and you get to another one, and then it kind of unfolds something else. So it's nice to have these better quality conversations, because then it's not the same thing you're talking about. And then also, like, I know that we do still talk about the kids on date nights, but we try and also focus on us, because we'll kind of like update, like I'll say to him, this is what's going on in my work. This is what's going on in your work, the kids. And then like we try and kind of talk about what's going on in the future, what we're excited about. So it can be a little bit more expansive.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a problem being in the future constantly. She's very present and in the moment. And I'm very future forward thinking. I think that's always something you're going to have when you have ambitious people. Like, they're very future forward thinking, and sometimes it's hard for them to be like in the moment. She's very in the moment, and she's ambitious, but has the ability to be like super present with everything.
A lot of where my mind goes to is in gratitude. So I'm always thinking about, I'm so grateful for, like, when I get up in the morning, I look out the window and I go, I'm so grateful for the palm trees outside. I'm grateful for my car, my house, my family, my kids, my health, like all the things. Because for me, like, that's the root that like, that's where I start.
I start
in
with
your
like,
head, you're thinking 10 years ahead of now.
I'm grateful for this future I'm about to get for myself today.
Yeah. But it's good to have the yin and the yang of like being grateful now for the present. So like I can kind of bring him into that. And then he's thinking big, expansive, big picture. And then I get to go into that world and go think big. But it's funny because I also feel like I'm very big picture, think big in business. But then when it comes to marriage, the relationship with the kids, I'm very like, grateful, grounded in the moment for that.
Yeah. Ultimately, this just goes back to like having to get in alignment with your partner. Nobody has these conversations. I meet thousands of business owners who have great businesses and, they're struggling at home. I meet a lot more of them that have a struggling business and they're struggling at home. And really like, it really is a tough conversation to have for some people, because there are a lot of cases where people just aren't aligned on what they want and what their future looks like. And, that's where you have to do some work,
and it's got to start somewhere. A step forward is a step forward.
Yeah. And ultimately, if you're not aligned, you have to attempt to get aligned, and you have to work at that. And,
constantly,
if one person wants a private jet and the other person's like, I'm good in an apartment, I just want quality time with you. Like, you guys have some work. You guys have some work to do, because if you want a jet, like, I know how much a jet costs to operate. Like, that's not a cheap thing. And so when you have that misalignment, and then you have people acting on those things, that's when you end up getting people that are really unhappy in their relationships. And so understanding, I mean, if you're not married yet, I mean, this is definitely something you want to figure out before you put a ring on somebody, or you accept a ring from somebody, is like, are you guys aligned with what the future looks like for you? And if that's a checkbox, which it should be, and that was one of the checkboxes for us, is just ambitious, wants to travel, wants family, understands that a life that
what it takes,
we want to live, like, requires some weekends to be gone and some birthdays to be
understanding.
Yeah. And like supportive. Just as an example, like, I'm going through a crazy season in our business. Like, it's exploding in every direction in a good way, fortunately. But, she booked a Valentine's Day for us. And I know that some of you women may go, oh, how unromantic and all these things. But yeah, but like, is that your ego? Like, what's the most important thing? I want to be with her for Valentine's Day. And I do a lot to do things that are thoughtful, that let her know I care, little handwritten cards, flowers, text notes, just saying how appreciative I am.
Cards. I have one sitting here on my desk.
So and just like,
for no reason.
So it's just like, this is where you just have to work together. And I told her, I said, hey, look, like a couple months ago, I'm like, this is going to be a wild season for me. So I just need more from you.
And to me, that's exciting. Like, I'm happy to, pick up that. I don't even think it's slack, but I'm happy to like do those things. Number one, I also enjoy planning. So for me, I'm looking 3 months out, a quarter out, like, what's going on? What are we doing? And again, this is where the calendar comes in, but like, also knowing that he has so much going on. I think I texted you about February for Valentine's Day in December.
Yeah.
So again, it's a little bit extra
and
planning.
Then they were trying to move. They were trying to put something that weekend. And I was like, sorry guys, Sandy already planned Valentine's Day. Like, we got to find another day. Also,
there's things that, like, if they do come up, like, you just got to be understand, because especially when it's so big picture for what you're building.
Again, that goes back to the whole idea.
We've done this with birthdays. We've done this with holidays, anniversaries. We're like, hey, look, if you're traveling on this day, we got to do it the next weekend, or we've got to do it early.
Almost every highly successful couple that I've met a lot of them, had the opportunity to spend time with a lot of very wealthy people. They just view the year differently. It's like, okay, hey, look, like, it's your birthday. We're going to celebrate it. If we don't have cake, it's 6:52 p.m., which is the minute that you were born. It's not the end of the world. Let's find a time to celebrate you and go out and do something to honor you and cheer for you and celebrate you and admire you and all these things. But it doesn't have to be on that day. Particularly if there's something that goes there that is a part of this bigger picture. Do you feel like Valentine's Day gets celebrated this day instead of that day, or your birthday this day? Or do you feel like cheated? Like I feel, be honest. There's probably a part of you that says probably.
So I'll tell you, there's been times when I've been traveling for my birthday. We haven't been together. I've been traveling. I was in like Jersey at the Shore House, or I was wherever I was, right? Like, he had work and he couldn't go for whatever reason. And I'm like, I'm sad. I want you to be there with me, but you also make it a point to, like, you'll send flowers wherever I'm at, or obviously send me a text message, but like, we'll celebrate when we are together. So I think just being flexible is really important too, because as you're doing the calendar planning, the questions, the check-ins, the date nights,
when we're 60 years old, we're not going to remember we celebrated your birthday 2 days early or 2 days late, or and that's where we go back to, what is the significance of this particular thing as it relates to the entire thing that we're trying to build together?
Obviously I like to be spoiled for my birthday and special occasions, but I also love doing that for you and the kids. I enjoy it so much. One of my favorite things to do is plan events. I used to do event planning for a living because I loved it. It gives me joy to do that, even if I'm doing it for myself, because I'm like, I know it doesn't take away from whatever you're going to do. Or, if I plan all the kids' birthday parties, I plan obviously your birthday parties or family or whatever. I enjoy doing it. And I don't feel any less if it's something I do for us or for myself.
Yeah.
Like it's still special.
There's just some things that you have to look for, the things that are recurring issues that cause conflict in the relationship. And then you have to look at what the root cause of that. Is it because your mother-in-law or vice versa, whatever, the way that when you guys grew up,
that's
she
another
always
thing
celebrated this way, that way, and did this. And then when you say it's different between you and your spouse or your partner, then your mom or your mother-in-law or your dad or your father-in-law or whatever says, oh, well,
outside
we used to always do it like this. And they start coming at you and you're just like, hey, look, we're just living our life. Like we know the mission that we're on together. We know what we're trying to accomplish. And in the grand scheme of that thing, the way that we live our life, January through December, some things are less significant in the traditional sense. And, I think that's really, really helped us out. And, look, like some women can't think like that, I guess, or some guys, maybe, I don't know. But there are a lot of people that get stuck into tradition rather than what actually works for you.
And what makes sense.
Alex Hormozy posted a video about Christmas, and he's like the holidays, like it wasn't a good time for him. And he was like, what I like to do for the holidays is I like to be alone. Like it's not a good thing for me to remember. And so and I was like, good for you, dude. Like the holidays is, the life is what you make it. At the end of the day, again, when you're 75 years old, you're not going to be on your deathbed. If you lived your best life, you're not going to be going, man, I really wish that I would have celebrated this holiday differently.
One of the videos that I did for the holidays was like 10 holiday hacks to make the holidays easier. And one of those little hacks was like doing those break and bake cookies and like letting the kids decorate them and pop them in the oven. My mom, who is an avid cookie baker for the holidays, was like, oh, how dare you get the break and bake cookies? I was like, you know what? All my kids want to do is use the sprinkles, decorate it, and eat them. Like they don't care if it's from a break and bake or a homemade, So like you got to do what is easy for you, what makes sense. And then anybody else's input, you just got to judge whether or not it should impact your decisions and what you ultimately want. And the final thing I want to just wrap up with is, because again, I know a lot of the guys are going to be listening to this, or the girls are sending to their spouses, their husbands, their partners. I just want to ask you two questions to wrap this up. Before we started doing this, so this was our second year going full out with the calendar and the planning. What was the biggest difference for you prior to the planning and then after?
Less arguments about me not telling her what I had going on my calendar.
Okay.
I mean, literally, like I have events where I'm traveling throughout the month, every month, all year. And I would get so into work that I'd be like, oh, it's Thursday. I'm like, I have an event starting tomorrow through Sunday. And I'm letting her know at 6:00 at night when I get home that I'm like, oh man, I'm exhausted. And I have this event all weekend. She's like, what event?
Yeah. And when you have a super planner and then like a last minute person, that can be difficult.
So, and I'm not last minute. I just don't communicate. I wasn't communicating what was going on. So it eliminated a lot of that. And then the second thing was, for me, that was really important for both of us was, as much as I do work and the demands that I have on me, the one thing that I know for sure I will regret is if I look back and go, I didn't have enough quality time with my kids. And so, I'll make time to, I take Jake to school twice a week. It's not a short trip. It's like 45, 50 minutes each way. I do it in the morning so the traffic isn't as bad. We live in Miami, so it's crazy. But for me, it's like, okay, what are the things that I can do, even if it's like, hey, go into work an hour late so I can take Jordy to Starbucks and have a little coffee with him, take him to the golf course in the morning before, whatever. Like, it's trying to create these little things. And in addition to that, planning like every quarter we go somewhere for a week and
intentional family time.
Yeah. And we're like doing something, fun and like
and that will give us memories.
The trip we're going to do the first quarter this year is we're going to rent a motorhome. I talked her into this. We're going to rent an RV and we're going to drive from Phoenix. We're going to go stay in Sedona, and then we're going to go to Utah, and we're going to go through
He's calling this glamping.
Yeah, because it's going to be a nice motorhome, But just to have the kids, because where we live in Miami, they don't get the opportunity to go play in the dirt, in the wilderness, and fires and fish and marshmallows, and so it's going to be a really fun time for them to like get out and like really get to be boys, do some of the stuff that I got to do growing up.
And I've never done it, so this will be a first time experience for me. Okay, and then my final question for you to share with the audience is, if someone is doing this for the first time, what advice would you give them to set them up for success from a guy's perspective? Because I know all the girls are going to be on board with this. So for the guys who might not be on board with it from the get-go, because like I had
I can't like, look, here's the alternative. Here's the alternative. Okay. Make the decision whether or not you want to spend an hour in planning or 365 days a year arguing about communication. Like, if you have this is a great opportunity. Like, if you're like, hey dude, I want to go on 3 guys trips a year. She wants to go on 3 girls trips a year. Like, this is your opportunity to get it all out and put it all out on the calendar, and just know, like, this is our plan for the year, and this is what we're going to be doing. And at the end of the year, if we check all these things off, we're going to look up and we're going to go, man, we had a great year. We accomplished everything that we wanted to. We made quality time for each other. We had alone time, if that's what you want. We had time with our family. We had time with our friends. We had time with our kids. We got all of our work stuff done. And it is the thing that draws you closer to the thing that you want every day. So I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to do this, other than maybe there's some conversations that you need to start confronting that you've been putting off about why you really have conflict in your relationship. And so, and look, guys, just so you know, like, I find myself thinking like, hey, I'm the main character in this movie. This is all about me. I'm making all the money. I'm doing all this. Like, everything should revolve around me. That attitude will create problems. And so you need to, like, if you don't take the time to understand what's important to your wife and what she wants to accomplish and what she wants her life to look like, and then work to do that. Like, I know I'm a workhorse. I'm a hit the target, add the revenue guy. And for me, knowing what she's got on her plate and finding ways for me to help her reach her goal does nothing more than bring us closer together. Yes. And, and it's going to make everything better.
I'll just add one little tip for the ladies, because you're giving some tips for the guys. One little tip for the ladies is make it sexy. The first time I did
do it naked.
maybe. So when I say make it sexy, we go to the spa, we get massages, we do a lunch day, we sit out by the pool or the beach and do the planning. So make it something that they're going to look forward to doing. Maybe do it naked. No, maybe not. But make it something exciting that they're going to want to do. Because the first time we did this, I was like, babe, I booked the spa. We're going to do this planning day. And he was like, okay, great. And then this year, were you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I forgot.
You forgot what?
Remember, you were like, because she booked it like a month.
I booked it in November.
A month in November.
For January.
And then normally she put stuff on my calendar, and it did. This is a perfect example. And it didn't get on my calendar. And so,
but there was 4 conversations.
I know. And there were conversations about it in between. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're going. I'm excited. I'm really, and then the night before she's like, 2 days before, she's like, yeah, well, we have our thing on Monday. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And because I was looking at my calendar and it wasn't there. And then I forgot the conversations that we had, because I just had a crazy conversation about something wild that happened at work.
Yeah.
And so my brain was completely washed of any previous conversations after 12 hours.
But let me ask you this. When you knew it was coming, were you like excited for it?
Oh, of course. Yeah. And I wasn't, she got upset that I forgot. If we're being real here, she got upset that I forgot, and I'm like, I don't know, I got a lot going on. Like, I wasn't upset we were doing it. I was excited to be doing it.
Right. For the women, I just want them to understand that, like, when I was looking to get you on board the very first time, I wanted to make it something exciting. So you looked for, like, of course I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you could try it on the golf course if he's a golfer too. I don't know. Whatever you got to do. But like, honestly, like, there's no downside to this. It's all upside. If it creates a little bit of conflict and tension as you're working through it, that's a great thing, because at the other end of that, you guys will both be more aligned.
Yes. Amen. All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope this gets you guys on the same page. Babe, where can everybody follow you?
At Jarrod Glenn.
All right, guys. Well, until next time, make sure to go out and slay your day.